Just so you understand, these projects are budgets. The reality is not one of them will move forward until this council approves the concept and plan.
Sharon, thanks. Mark Venko, CAC member. When we spoke at the CAC over the course of time for the last year and a half, when it came to the topic of 141, the general consensus among the committee and the residents is to try to keep 141 Medlock Bridge Parkway 4 lanes. Okay. Now, separately, there's been a T-SPLOS vote, and this conversation's come up within the CAC committee. I'm wondering if you can clarify the 6 lanes that you mentioned of widening a Medlock Bridge. Is that really getting carried over from the T-SPLOS vote and sort of getting in there when you mentioned 6 lanes? Because the general consensus, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've attended most of those meetings, the consensus from the committee was to keep 141 as a recommendation to 4 lanes.
Correct, and that is stated very clearly in the comprehensive plan. You will notice while it talks about the widening of several roads, it specifically calls out any recommendations that the CAC has to perhaps not widen certain roads, Medlock being one of them. It's my understanding that because of the T-SPLOS vote, Public Works is moving forward. It's also my understanding that they don't plan to take any additional right-of-way, and that it's primarily a restriping project. And I do have Tom Udell here, so if you have specific questions, or anybody does, on any of the transportation projects, when we break up and we move to the back to do some exercises, we do have someone here from Public Works who's very, very well-rounded in terms of what's happening with all the transportation projects. But it is mentioned that it's not recommended by the CAC in the comp plan.
So for clarification, what I just heard from you, despite the recommendation being in the draft of the comprehensive plan and the draft not even being presented to council yet, it's already been decided because of the T-SPLOS vote to move ahead with 6 lanes on Medlock Bridge Parkway.
I think this has been discussed a lot at the City Council work sessions, as well as perhaps some City Council meetings, and the citizens voted to adopt the T-SPLOS.
But adopting the T-SPLOS in the budget and the special tax, which is what T-SPLOS stands for, it doesn't define the projects of how those funds are utilized.
And I do believe there's a journey for each project, as it's been explained.
I just want to make sure that as a resident member, that the CAC's recommendation is put out front before any decisions are made by council.
Just so you understand, these projects are budgets. The reality is not one of them will move forward until this council approves the concept and plan.
Sharon, I'm sorry, but I'm going to dovetail off of Mark and say I'm also concerned, or that I am concerned about, the plan referring to these projects as if it's been decided, because I think that is still a policy question held for council, and I'm hoping that moving forward maybe we can tweak the way we present that to the public. I do have a question. So regarding the higher intensity development, is that dependent on 141 being widened?
No.
So we could have, theoretically, we could have 141 not be widened and still approve the high intensity development.
My understanding, and again I defer to our expert in the back room, Tom Udell, but most of the traffic that's going to be increasing our capacity on 141 would not be coming from people that would be living in Tech Park, and I think they would choose that lifestyle because they would be working there. So it's not like they would be commuting to that site, which we now have with State Farm, Alcon, Ebix, hospital people. But they would choose that lifestyle so they could walk to work. The majority of traffic, fortunately, as we know, is either coming from the north and going through Johns Creek or crossing the city to get to the 400 corridor, either to get on 400 or because they work in the 400 corridor. So I don't think that this would be impacting the traffic.
Do we really accept the premise that allowing high-density development in Tech Park at up to 16 units per acre will not result in more traffic and congestion in Johns Creek? It's really a simple matter of cause and effect. More high-density development results in more cars on our roads. More cars results in more congestion, and more congestion is used to justify road widening. Johns Creek is already the most densely populated city in North Fulton. Why would we want more density? Are we our own worst enemy? We invite you to join us at Preserve Johns Creek.